What's up, gamers? I just want to talk about Dokkan and some potential EZAs they could have regarding the global download celebration. I believe that it's going to be somewhat GT related, especially if they're going to do Daima, which I do think they're going to be doing. It's a little bit late, but I do think they'll be doing Daima, specifically Super Saiyan 4 Goku Mini. If it is that character, they'll definitely do some GT related EZAs. So I'm just here to, spitball some GT EZAs. I think I'm cooking. I am in the kitchen. Tell me if it's fire. Tell me if it isn't. But first, regardless, I do think this guy will EZA. He is due for an EZA. He has been for a while. They're doing 200% EZAs and he hasn't gotten in yet, so I do think he's coming up on an EZA. Just before I give you what I gave him, I'm just going to say leader skill doesn't really matter. Just give him 170 to both categories. You're not really going to be running him for leader skill. The only place you'll be running him for leader skill is probably like Shadow Dragon Extreme Super Battle Road, but even then you probably could find someone else who's better. They'll probably release someone else who's better if they ever do that, so I don't think his leader skill really matters. Super attack, I didn't change for my EZA. I feel like this is already a pretty good super attack considering what I am going to give him. But if you do want to buff his super attack, which perfectly fine, just get rid of this part. Just take away that for one turn, just let him stack. 50% stacking would be really good for Festival of Battles, Red Zone, just good in general. Everyone loves stacking characters. So onwards to the actual meat and potatoes for the EZA. So for basic effects, I took him from 200 attack and defense. I raised that up by 100%, changed it to 300. Then I'm also giving him 70% chance to dodge, and also 70% chance for an additional super. That's why this line in the passive is really why I didn't give him stacking, along with some of the other stuff I'm going to get into. But this, considering he's already getting 50% stats there, we'll see. I'll talk about it in a second. So for 10 turns instead of 8 turns from character's entry turn, I raised his ki from 4 to 6, and I also gave him an additional 60% stats. So that's already 400%. Kefla, the EZA that came out a little bit before him, I believe, that Kefla, after transforming, has, I believe, 450 total stats. So I decided 400 was pretty good to give him. I gave him, kept it super effective against all types. And then I also gave him 50% damage reduction. So that's really the main reason I didn't give him stacking. I feel like, 70% chance to dodge, additional super with 50% damage reduction. With all the stats that he's getting, I feel like that would be very busted. If you do want to give him stacking, I feel like 50% would be perfectly fine, but if you don't want to give him stacking, you could probably slide him between like a 50% damage reduction range to about 70. I feel like 50 to 70 would be the sweet spot for damage reduction. I feel like with that, he'd be pretty crazy, honestly. But let's say starting from the 11th turn from start of battle. So I kept this in just because this is the most realistic. Dokkan loves to keep the character flaws in. I gave him great chance to be super effective against all types from high chance. I just feel like that's a lot better. And then I'm just going to do a flat minus 20% damage reduction. I feel like that's fair. So if you do want to have him stacking, and you do 50% damage reduction, he loses 20, he goes down to 30. And then if you don't want him stacking, if you want to push him up to 60, he goes down to 40. 70 goes down to 50. I feel like that's fine, anywhere between that 30 to 50 range. And then I also gave him, I just reduced him from 100% to 50%. I feel like that's a fine little nerf after 11 turns. After 11 turns, you're probably nearing the end of the fight anyway. I feel like even with this, he's still pretty good. I also buffed his counter, so when receiving a super attack, great chance of nullifying and countering with tremendous power from high chance. That's really why I didn't want him stack it. Like, this paired with this, with his super attack and the additional super, I feel like would be too busted for at least Dokkan's current environment. I don't know how they're gonna do, like, new content, but at least for right now, 70% chance to nullify supers, 70% chance to dodge, 70% chance for an additional, with like 50 to 70% damage reduction. I feel like he'd be like one of the best characters in the game. So that's why I kind of left him at 50. I didn't have him stacking. I kept the nerf in because I feel like that would be, you know, most accurate to what Dokkan would actually do. And then with his active skill, it's not really a crazy buff, again, because of what I just stated. But he goes from 40 to 50% stats. I kept the same. Oh yeah, also just another 10% to the debuff. I feel like the active skill condition is fine for 4 attacks in battle. It's going to be annoying, but, you know, another character flaw because he's already, like, this EZA right here is already kind of busted, especially if you do want to give him stacking. I feel like this would be a very good EZA, especially for modern day Dokkan, and he still has, you know, after 11 turns, he does still have a chance to die. It's in the dodge canceling fights, he'll still be able to die. Festival of Battles, he'll probably still get cooked. I feel like he will dominate battle-hardened formidable foes, though. He'll dominate any shorter red zone fights. It's just really Festival of Battles and longer red zones he should be worrying about, which I feel like that's fine. I feel like that's a fine, like, little nerf. Even then, I feel like he's still gonna be pretty broken. 400, what is that? 300, 350. 400, 450. I feel like 450% stats with 50% damage reduction or 30% damage reduction. I feel like that's still really good with the great chance to dodge and the great chance to counter. I feel like this is like an overall, on terms of balance, he'd be like up there. He'd be really, like, really good, but he still can die, and I feel like that's really important for making these EZAs. Like, you can't make them too busted, but you should make them just busted enough to, like, where you can feel it. Okay. Next. If they do decide to go to the GT route, which this whole video is based on, so I'm just going to keep assuming that, I feel like Pan would also be coming up on an EZA. If Path to Power Kid Goku can get his EZA before Pan, I feel like Pan would definitely be next if it's GT themed. And I feel like she, with the EZA I'm giving her, she could be a very good, like, sleeper pick on any team. Let's see. So leader skill, you know, same 200. I didn't change the leader skill for her. You know, 200% attack, 200% stats. So for her basic super, the Maiden Blast, this part right here, I changed it from raising attack 30% to 50%. Immense damage is the same. High chance of stunning instead of medium chance. I feel like that's pretty fair if you can't have her unit super up, which will be common. So I feel like 50% stacking with a high chance of stun is pretty acceptable. But I made her unit supers pretty busted. So for the Goku one, the Pepper Pot, Pickle Pot, Purple Pot one, I upped it from greatly raises to massively raises. And then I changed it from immense damage to mega colossal. I say this just because when she first came out back in, what was it, 2020? No, 2022, I'm cooked. So when she first came out in 2022, in that Broly Red Zone meta, she was tearing him up. Like, her attack stacks were crazy. So if they want to keep, like, the same gist of the character, I feel like keeping this insane, like upping this unit super would be more than acceptable. she'd be dropping like 100 mil attack stacks, or attack stats. But I feel like that would be acceptable. That's fine, because you're not really running a Goku GT on the turn. Well, actually, no, with the new Super Saiyan 4 Goku GT. So I still feel like that would be fine, like running her slot 1, keeping that AGL Super Saiyan 4 Goku slot 2. She would be pretty busted, but I feel like she kind of deserves that. Let's see, her other unit super attack with Trunks, I changed from greatly to massively again. I kept it as immense though, and then I changed it from a high chance to great chance to stun. I also didn't change chance to stun on Goku's one. I feel like really just the massively and Mega Colossal will be crazy, which should be intentional. I know it's like probably over the top, but I feel like why not, bro? It's Pan. Like no one's gonna be like caring about her anyway. Just make her insanely busted. And then for Giru's, I think I just made that a carbon copy of the Trunks one. I feel like that's fair. These two should just be the same. Then for basic effects, I changed it from 150 stats to 200. When attacking, I changed it from 50 to 100, so she's already at 300. This could probably be nerfed. I feel like, again, the Mega Colossal with the massively raising attack is kind of broken. I could probably ease up on it, but if you want to make it really busted, this part is going to be crazy. So as the first attacker in a turn, key plus 3 to 6, anywhere, I feel like letting her super is fine, giving her 6 key, but if you want to like nerf her a little, you can make it 3. Change it from 2 to 3, or like 2 to 6, anywhere between that range is fine. Then I upped her attack from 50 to 100, so she's already at 500% at the, I could probably nerf that actually, now I'm thinking about it, because this is kind of broken. So she's at the 200, 400 stats, 500 attack, 400 defense. And then I also said damage reduction 90% before attacking. And then I also want to give her guard before attacking. So I forgot to put this in there. Damage reduction 90% and guard. I feel like... Actually, no. I'll keep it as guard after. Because after the 90% is gone, she's going to need the guard or else she's going to die. But I feel like this is fine. Just make her Tech Broly. Just make her Tech Broly before attacking, and then after attacking she can die. Like the Tech Pan slot. I feel like that's pretty balanced. Considering, like, all the damage that she's going to be doing. Like, she's invincible before she attacks, and then after she attacks, she can be tagged. I feel like that's pretty fine. That's why I made her attack so high, because she's basically just going to be like a better STR LR Kaioken Goku. She's going to be doing crazy amounts of damage, but then she still can very easily die after she attacks. And then, you know, I kept this part the same just because I feel like she already is kind of busted. I could probably just keep this at 150. I could probably just keep these two the same as her base if she's going to be massively raising her attack. But I gave her some buffs, just because I kind of want Tech Pan to be really good. I got her in, like, near release, and she was horrible. Like, she was just really bad, so I say make her good for a while. And again, she still can die after attacking. All she's going to have really is just stats and guard, which everyone knows you need more than guard to live in today's meta, so I feel like that's fine. This, again, for every attack, forever up to like 100%. So she's already operating at like 600% attack plus 500% defense with crazy before attacking defense. I feel like that's fine. And then whenever there's like the GT Heroes category ally who's Goku, Trunks, or Giru, she launches 70% chance of being an additional super. I feel like that's fine. She could be like a really one of the best TURs in the game, I feel. And I feel like that should be fine considering that you're not really going to be running her anywhere, because Bond of Friendship actually... No, not really a leader for Bond of Friendship. Dragon Ball Seekers, not really running them for leaders. GT Heroes could get a leader skill. If it does, she could be busted. Hybrid Sands isn't a team right now. Goku's family doesn't really have a good leader right now. Youth has that this Path to Power Kid Goku, but we're in a 200% or 220% meta instead of 200 now, so I guess. Not really running Space Traveling Warriors. Bond of Parent and Child doesn't have a team. Kamehameha, the STR Gohan is kind of power crept. Earthbred Fighters. I guess the Kid Goku, she'd probably be on the team, but her teams aren't the greatest right now. Like, they look really good on paper, but they don't really have leaders right now. So that's why I kind of made her really good, because she would just be like a really good sleeper character on any one of those teams. She'd just be putting out insane amounts of damage on any of these teams. I feel like that's fine. Like, making Tech Pan like a really crazy attack unit that's near invincible before she attacks, but can be tagged after she attacks. I feel like that's keeping like the same gist of the character as when she came out. Like, when she came out, she was doing crazy amounts of damage and living before she attacked, but then after she attacked, she'd get walloped. And I feel like that's about the same here, except that, you know, we're giving her crazy amounts of stats and guard. So she could probably take normals, but after that, she'd probably be cooked. She'd be really good in battle-hardened formidable foes before attacking. She'd be really good in any red zone before attacking. Festival of Battle, she'd probably get walloped in towards the end. I feel like that's fine. Just make her a crazy damage unit that after attacking, she could just be caught. I feel like that's fine. Because most bosses super before you attack anyway, so if she's just going to be crazy before attacking, and then throw out crazy damage numbers, but then if she gets supered and like after that, I feel like that's fine. That's the same gist of the character. Just make her really strong. I really want her to be really strong. She's really slept on. She honestly deserves another Dokkan Fest because of how bad they treated her the first time around. But yeah, I feel like this would be I feel like this isn't even balanced. I feel like she's gonna be like crazy damage-wise if you want to keep massively. But I feel like she'd be very fair. Like, if the boss is supering in the Tech Pan slot, then she's walloped. But if not, she's one of the best slot 1 units in the game who does crazy amounts of damage. I feel like that's fine. And again, you could always reduce the stats, keep this. I feel like the main part of her kit, though, would be this. I feel like this is really big for her kit. It'd be very helpful. I feel like she would definitely need it. But like 90% damage reduction before attacking, I feel like that's perfectly fine. Just make her Tech Broly. Just make her like a weaker defensive Tech Broly turn 1. And she'd be fine. Okay, next. I think these two characters from her banner can also EZA on her. Like, if Tech Pan does EZA, then they'll also like be sub EZAs for her banner. And I think I'm cooking with their EZAs. So for AGL, Trunks and Goten. Again, from this point on, I'm not really going to touch leader skills, because you're not going to be running them as leaders anyway. If you are, you're fucking insane. But their super attack, I changed it from regular raises attack and defense. I changed it to greatly raise attack and defense. I feel like that's just fine. Just make them a little bit better stacking. I feel like they're not going to be too crazy anyways. They're sub EZAs. They're not going to be too crazy. Passive skill, I changed their stats from... I kept the key the same. You could probably up the key if you want. I kept the key the same. I just gave them an extra 100% stats. I gave them the same additional attack that has a 50% chance of becoming a super. Just because I'm trying to be realistic, they wouldn't go too crazy for a sub EZA. I feel like that would be fine. But I feel like the big part of their character would be this. This section right here. So I upped their support from 3 key 40% stats for Goku's family and Vegeta's family. I upped it to 4 and 70% stats. They would be really good. And then if you want to, you could push them even further over the top and make it like 2-turn support or even like 3-turn support. I made it just, 1-turn support, and I also gave them 70% chance to dodge. You could probably give them more. I feel like it's not realistic. They don't really treat sub EZAs too crazy, except for like Raccoon and Goldo. But if you want to, you could give them guard. You could throw guard in there, give them more stats. And then when attacking with 12 or more ki, I just gave them another 100. So they have 350 here, and then they get the extra 50 there. So they have 400% stats with great chance to dodge. I feel like that's fine. They don't need to be too crazy. They don't need to be like top 5 in the game. I feel like just running them on the team for their support and then having them be like a 70% chance to dodge unit. Or you can even, like, right here on their attacking with 12 or more ki, just give them, like, an extra 7% chance to dodge. Make them, like, AGL UI Goku after EZA. I feel like that'd be fine, like, with their support. Because their support is pretty good, especially if you want to make it more than 1 turn. But, nothing too crazy for this AGL Trunks and Goten. Just make them a pretty good support. Give them good dodge. I feel like anything more than that would be pretty crazy. That's when we get to this character. I made them crazy. So this Gohan and Goten. Again, I didn't touch the leader skill, but for their super attack, I made it go from greatly attacking for 1 turn. I just, like Dokkan likes to do sometimes, they like to make duo cards, or like dual cards. They like to make them like parallels to each other. So I just gave them stacking as well. I feel like that'd be fine. Supreme damage to enemies. And then I also put on this super, all allies 30% attack and defense. And then for their basic effects, I gave them the additional attack that has a medium chance to super. I changed that to great chance to super. You could probably make that high if you want to keep them like parallel like this. But I also gave them GT Heroes category allies. I changed it from 3 key 40% stats to 6 key 50% stats. So that'd be 80% support to the entire rotation. And then I also gave them 50% chance to dodge, 30% chance to crit. And then with 12 or more ki, they get their insane stats, their 400% stats, and then additional 20% chance to dodge and crit. So they're another 70% chance to dodge unit, like the AGL Goten and Trunks, but they're like a little bit better of a support, specifically to GT Hero category allies. For all allies, they're going to be getting this 30% attack and defense for 1 turn, and then GT Hero category allies will get the extra 50% and 6 ki. I feel like for 1 turn, that's fine, considering this would be... I said 1 turn, but I guess you can make that... If you want to do it like what I'm talking about, probably make this 2-turn support, and then make this 1-turn support, just because they have the better support. But I feel like, 70% chance to dodge units, basic, like, pretty good support, basic stats. I feel like for sub EZAs, that'd be really good for them. Again, you wouldn't be able to run them damn near anywhere, but they usually do that for sub EZAs, so might as well just give them really good support. I feel like that's fine. So next, I chose this Trunks, considering he has fucking nothing, and he's been here since 2017. And then I also chose this Pan, who has fucking nothing, and because she hasn't EZA'd at all. These two, I kind of just had to be creative with, because they have nothing. But, you know, for this Trunks, I gave him, I changed his super from Supreme Damage and greatly lowers defense. I changed that to greatly raises attack and defense for 6 turns, Supreme Damage, and then greatly lowers defense. So I just gave them, you know, the 6 turn, 50% buff. And then for their passive, I changed when attacking with 12 or more ki from 100% attack to just 200% stats in general. And then I'm also making this guy support with GT Hero and Hybrid Sand specifically. I just made it 3 ki, 50% support, and I also give them 10% chance to crit. And then I just made them like another dodge unit. I feel like you could give them damage reduction or whatever, but again, these guys are sub-EZAs. They're not going to go too crazy with them. I feel like even giving them great chance to dodge is kind of crazy, because they'll be fine in some events. And then, you know, when attacking with 12 or more ki, 100% stats. So 300% stats, pretty good support, 70% chance to dodge, 6 turn super attack stacking. I feel like that's pretty decent, considering this will be like a what, 8-year-old EZA, 8-year-old sub EZA. I feel like they'll be pretty good. And then for this Pan, again, she's very much like this Trunks. So for her, on her super, I just made it greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn. I made her a little bit better. I gave her Supreme Damage, 40% stats for allies for 3 turns, make her a 3-turn support. I feel like that's fine. Passive skill, I gave her 200% attack and defense, changed that, I gave them 100%, 170% more defense. No, I'm lying. I just gave her 200% attack and defense, just because she needs it. Without it, she'll probably just be a fish. Then I also gave her 50% damage reduction, 50% crit, 50% dodge. I feel like that's fine. Even with all this, she'll still probably be a fish. She'll probably still be she'll probably be very heavy on dodge. Maybe after super, she'll be able to take normals, but she probably will just die to super attacks. I feel like that's fine. She's a sub-EZA. And then when HP is 30% or more, which is this part right here, I changed it from 30% all allies 30% stats. I changed it to 60%, just gave them an extra 30, and then 10% damage reduction. So 100% stats support with 10% damage reduction. She'll be a crazy support that will die almost all the time, but she's a crazy support. And then I also just gave, when HP's 30% or more, just an extra 20% damage reduction, crit, and dodge. So she'll be like another 70% chance to dodge unit, 70% damage reduction, 70% crit. But again, she isn't too crazy. She'll still die. She doesn't have guard. All she has is 70% damage reduction. So again, she'll probably be like living normals after super, and then she'll probably just do crazy amount of support. Probably just sit her in slot 3. Just have her support for 3 turns. I feel like she'll be pretty good with this kit. She'll be like one of the best floaters in the game. Not in dodge canceling fights though. I feel like she'll be pretty good. Now, if we want to go back to this Trunks, I feel like I was a little bit more generous to the Pan. You could probably give him 70% 70% damage reduction. I feel like with that he wouldn't be too crazy. He'd probably be another one of those floater supports that you just like hope never gets supered. Yeah, I feel like you'd probably just give him 70% damage reduction. I feel like that's fine. These two characters, spoiler alert, these two characters I feel like could just be very good, you know, slot 3 supports, especially this Pan. I feel like this pan will be pretty good if they stick to this like type of EZA. You know, just 40% stats for 3 turns, and then when they're on rotation, they just get like an extra 60% and 10% damage reduction. I feel like that's like pretty broken, but I feel, you know, it's a sub EZA. Just they can be like kind of broken in terms of support, but they'll still die every 2 seconds. I feel like that's fine. Now, I might have spoiled it, but the next 2 EZAs would be super EZAs for these guys. I feel like they definitely are coming up on their super EZAs, and I feel like you can... sorry. I feel like you can make them pretty decent. Okay. So, again, I didn't really touch the leader skill. You're not really going to be running them as leaders ever. But for their super attack, I changed it from greatly raises attack to greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn. I kept these 2 parts. I feel like that's fine. And then for this, I changed it from just raising defense by 30% for 6 turns to raising attack and defense for 30% for 6 turns. I feel like that's fine. Not too crazy of a buff, but, you know, raising attack by 30% for 6 turns is also pretty good. Then for the basic effects, I changed it from 150 attack, 120 defense to just plain 300% attack and defense. Then I'm also giving them 70% damage reduction and guard. I feel like that'd be fine. They'd be pretty good after super. You can't put them slot 1. They'd be pretty good slot 2. This guy would specifically mesh well with the Pan concept I made earlier. You sit Pan in slot 1, she's invincible. Maybe not after super attacking, but if she doesn't get super attacked in the Pan slot, then this guy would be a pretty great slot 2. And then I changed this when attacking with Telephone Keith, attack plus 40. I just changed that to attack plus 100, and then I also just gave them, you know, flat out 30% attack and defense for 2 turns. I feel like that's fine. 2 turn support, plus pretty good slot 2, slot 3 unit. I feel like that's fair. And then when receiving a super attack, great chance of nullifying and countering. So he'd be one of the best slot 2 or slot 3 characters in the game. Really good support, 2 turn support, 70% damage reduction, guard, really good stats. Probably would never die in slot 2 or slot 3. I feel like that's fine. Until they make bosses harder, which they very well could soon, this guy would be pretty great in the meta. And then for AGL, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, I basically just made him the same. I just did that because if you look at these 2 characters anyway, they're the same. And again, like I was saying earlier, Dokkan, especially when they come to like these dual units, Dokkan loves to just like make them the same character, but they're just 2 different characters. So I feel like this is fine. If you wanted to make them more character specific, you'd give this Goku family support on this instead of all allies. That'd still be really good. And then for this is the Vegeta. The Vegeta would be Vegeta family for 30%, 2 turns. Goku would be the Goku family for 30%, 2 turns. I feel like that'd be fine. They'd probably be like some of the best slot 2, slot 3 units in the game. They're not going in Festival, but they could probably handle their own weight in Battle-Hardened Formidable Foes, Red Zone, probably anywhere else in the game besides Formidable Battle, just because of how crazy that event is. But yeah, I think 70% damage reduction in guard with their crazy stats and their crazy support, I feel like they'd be really great Super EZAs. So, I'm gonna cut the video here. If you have any ideas, or if you want to pack on me for my shitty-ass EZA ideas, leave it in the comments. If you love the video, like it. If you hate the video, dislike it. I don't really care. Just let me know what you think. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Peace.